Let's take a look now at using dashed lines in our artwork. So what we'll do is we'll fit everything in the window, and we are actually going to focus on our flyer down here in the lower right hand side. Okay, let's zoom in on that. And we'll also go ahead and open another document that we have in our project file. So bring up your File Open dialog, go back to the desktop where you located your project files, and inside the Illustrator Files folder, we're going to open this one called coupon.ai. All right? Go ahead and click Open, and if you want, we can zoom in on that. Now you can see it's an artwork I've already created, basically a fictitious discount coupon, and it's got this border around the outside that we want to sort of apply a dash to that suggests that you maybe cut it out and post it in with your application or something. So what we'll do is we'll select the whole thing, it's an entire group, and we'll just copy this into memory, close the file down, and then paste it into our artwork. Now we do want to make sure we have the right layer selected, and we'll put this on the backdrop, let's say, because if we unlock that, click on our grid here, we can see that the grid is indeed on the backdrop color. All right. With that selected, we can just go ahead and paste our artwork in, select the grid as well, and then with a no shift key selected, click on the grid once again to turn that into a key align object. And then in the align options, we can say align our coupon right and to the bottom. All right, if it's going to be cut out, we do want it to be in the bottom. It'd be very difficult to cut it out if it was in the center. So now that's in the right position, let's zoom in so we can see it nice and close. And just to be on the safe side, instead of using direct selection, what we can do is, because this is a group, we can double click on it to go into isolation mode. All right, so now every element in here is separate. We've got the background, we've got the stroke, and then we've got the graphics. And just so you know that's an option, we can double click on the graphics as well to now isolate them within the other group. All right, it's very, very cool that all of these things can be done through simple isolation. This used to be a nightmare in the past. So now that we've gone into multiple isolations, I'm just going to double click back out to the main artwork. Once again, select our coupon, double click to go into the first isolation mode. So the stroke here around the outside is what we wish to affect, and we're going to come over to the stroke panel here and apply a rather thick stroke. Let's maybe go up to, I don't know, 6 point, just so we can see what's going on. So when we did the single line, I mentioned about the alignment of the stroke being central, and you can see that the same rule does apply here. We've got 6 points, 3 points on either side. However, Illustrator, when you have a closed path, allows you to affect the alignment of the stroke. We can see that here in the stroke panel. We've currently got the first item selected, which, as you can see, is center. The next option is inside. This is the one that I like to use. If you've got a thick stroke on an object that you've created at a specific size, adding a thick stroke to it is actually essentially changing the size of that shape. And sometimes it makes sense to put the stroke inside and then your outer dimensions remain the same. Likewise, you can switch to an outer option, which will put the thickness of the stroke outside of your shape, all right? So in this instance, what we would do is choose inside, but we're going to add a dashed line, so we really negate that there. So I just wanted to point that out because it is important when you're doing solid, thick strokes that you might want to choose inside or outside. So I'm going to set that back to center, and I'm maybe going to knock this down to something a little less intense. Maybe 2 or 3 point is quite enough. What we want to do here is turn on the dashed line option, okay? Now, when we turn this on, again, it depends on whether you've played around with Illustrator before. You may have one or other of these selected. I'm going to make sure that the first one is highlighted. This is how Illustrator used to work. If you applied a dashed line, it basically was created evenly throughout the entire shape. So what we're getting here is a 12-point dash with a 12-point gap. That's the default, and that is applied consistently. Doesn't matter if you have corners or lines, different shapes or anything else, it's applied evenly around the whole shape, which then gives you these odd-looking corners, okay? Now, if you've ever used dash lines before in Illustrator, this may well have been a frustration. If you have a dash line, it'd be very cool if the corner itself was even and it had like a sort of 6 point on this side, 6 point down here, and when you got across to this side, it also had 6 point here, 6 point here. So you get these nice definite corners. Well, that's never worked before, but now this is built into Illustrator CS5. If you come over here and click on the second option, you can see that it's called Align Dashes to Corners. So if we go ahead and turn that on, you can see the difference. It's a lot neater, and it's also aligned everything else. Not only are the corners nice, but we've got 3 even strokes here, we've got 2 down here, we've got 3 across the bottom. Now, it does look slightly strange because there are much bigger gaps here, so really the 12 point is not working for us here. So let's just change that. We have the ability to add multiple dash and gap values, okay? So let's maybe change our first dash here to, say, 6 point. say OK, and maybe we'll change the gap so that it's an even 4 point. All right, that looks a little bit better, but again, because we have this align option turned on, we've now got nice, even and consistent corners all the way around, and this looks a lot better when it comes to artwork. So if I deselect that, you can see the finished result. So let's go back out of isolation mode there, because our coupon update has been done. We can zoom back down and see, yeah, that looks very nice there in the corner of our artwork.